Respect to our professor, Sir Robert Rivera Flora, my dear classmates, good afternoon. I am Philip Abamodando, your discussant this afternoon. And my topic that I will discuss this afternoon is about practice of blended learning. Okay? Customize students' workloads, meet diverse learning abilities, and support students at home or in the classroom. These are just a few of the things that a blended learning approach enables you to accomplish. As a teacher, you must effectively address a range of learning styles in a variety of settings and situations. Blended learning can help personalize education for each of the unique students you teach while making lessons for effective. If you're like most teachers, your students are already doing some form of blended learning, for example, by using a computer to complete an assignment. So they've already been introduced to the concept of blended learning. Many of your students are probably also familiar with tablets, smartphones, and other forms of technology which they may be using for non-school purposes. By bringing these tools into an educational setting, whether in the classroom, a hybrid setting, or distance learning, it's possible these students can learn even more effectively. Okay, let us define what is blended learning. A blended learning is an educational methodology that blends online or digital components with face-to-face instruction. Including technology and education, helps set students up for success later in life because computers and other connected devices are so integral to communication and businesses today. When students learn in a blended learning setting, they do more than master the subject. They're learning, they also master the use of technology. In-person instructions from a teacher is essential to the blended learning approach. Developing listening skills in addition to visual and kinesthetic skills is important for students' development. Okay, what is the purpose of blended learning? By making in-person and online learning complementary, blended learning creates a truly integrated classroom where the needs of all types of learners can be met. Keeping students engaged, stimulated, and motivated also help teachers to be more effective and make greater gains with their students. Allowing learners of all abilities the opportunity to advance their studies at the rate that works for them. Blended learning enables fast learners to advance more quickly, while struggling students can move at their own pace and get customized support where they're stuck. In a traditional classroom learning environment, where all students are trained at the same level and speed, gifted students can easily get bored, and students who need extra help can be left behind because blended learning is scalable. Instructions remains effective every step of the way, setting all your students up for success as they acquire the 21st century skills they need to shine. There are different types of blended learning. You can practice blended learning in an infinite number of ways. The options are endless. You know your students best, so you can customize the content technology and instructions methods you use based on what's best for each of your students. You can introduce new methods, try different blended learning styles, and tweak how you're using blended learning to continually make education for more effective for your students. Okay, so the first types of blended learning is the station rotation blended learning. So when we say station rotation blended learning is a model that allows students to rotate through stations on a phase schedule, where at least one of the station is an online learning station. This model is most common in elementary schools because teachers are already familiar with rotating in centers and stations. So the inner working of the model allow teachers to align a variety of activities to the learning goal and then break up the class into small groups to closely monitor their progress while students actively engage in the content. So the station rotation blended learning is similar to lab rotation blended learning and primarily characterized by station rotation blended learning is the fixed schedule that guide the blending. Okay? So next is the lab rotation blended learning. So the lab rotation model of blended learning, similar to station rotation, works by allowing students to rotate through stations on a fixed schedule in a dedicated computer lab, allowing for flexible scheduling arrangement with teachers, enabling schools to make use of existing computer labs. So the benefits of lab rotation blended learning, it requires very little adjustments to teacher contracts, facility design, or the classroom overall other than provisioning a computer lab and changing the block schedule. Some experts estimate that if students rotate to a lab with online learning and paraprofessional supervision, instead of face-to-face teacher lead instructions for 25 to 50% of their day, school leaders will net out with an increase of students per year. So the challenges of lab rotation blended learning is that there is little evidence of face-to-face teachers using the result and progress from the learning lab to adapt the way they teach the students back in the face-to-face classroom. There is not good linkage between the two modalities. Learning labs need a robust learning management system to help fit its students to the right online content and to generate actionable reports for teacher. So the online learning modality needs to be easy for students to do on their own with minimal adult interventions because generally students are supervised by paraprofessionals with little training. Okay, so next is the remote blended learning or the enriched virtual. So in enriched virtual blended learning, the students' focus is on completing online coursework while only meeting with the teacher intermittently as needed. So, remote blended learning or the enriched virtual blended learning is focused on online coursework. In this type of model, students complete a majority of their coursework online and then meet with the teacher for certain sessions. Although there are face-to-face meetings, the main focus is the online portion. The remote blended learning is similar to a mix of self-directed, flex blended learning, and the flipped classroom. Okay? So next is the flex blended learning, wherein the flex is included in types of blended learning, and its model is one in which a course or subject in which online learning is the backbone of students' learning. Even if it is direct students to offline activities at times, students move on an individually customized flow with schedules among learning modalities. The teacher of record is on site, and students learn mostly on the brick and mortar campus, except for any homework assignments. The teacher of record or other adults provide face-to-face support on a flexible and adaptive as needed basis through activities such as small group instructions, group projects, and individual tutoring. So the flex blended learning, the teacher of record is on site and students learn mostly on the brick and mortar campus except for any homework assignment. So the flex blended learning is similar to remote blended learning, inside out blended learning. Okay? So next type of blended learning is the flipped classroom blended learning. Wherein flipped classroom blended learning, perhaps the most widely known version of blended learning, a flipped classroom is one where students are introduced to content at home and practice working through it at school supported by a teacher and or peers. In this way, traditional roles for HSPs are flipped. So the flipped classroom is a form of blended learning which incorporates both face-to-face class time and web-based learning. So the hallmark of blended learning is that the strength of these two teaching learning modalities are intentionally combined, resulting in a customized education experience. So the flipped classroom blended learning is similar to remote blended learning. Okay? So next is the individual rotations blended learning. So the individual rotation model allows students to rotate through stations, but on individual schedules set by a teacher or software algorithms. Unlike other rotations models, students do not necessarily rotate to every stations. They rotate only to the activities scheduled on their playlist. So the individual rotation blended learning, using this method, the students can be made to learn the subject of their choice in a custom schedule set by the instructor. It helps students to learn a variety of courses based on their interest in a given period of time, and it helps in meeting the needs of each students. So the individual rotation blended learning is similar to mastery-based blended learning. Okay? Next is the project-based blended learning. So the blended project-based learning is a model in which the students uses both online learning, either in a form of courses or self-directed access and face-to-face instructions and collaboration to design, integrate, and publish project-based learning assignment, products, and related artifacts. So the project-based blended learning immerses students in an engaging questions, problem, or challenges for an extended period. It's a hands-on approach that can build skills, mindsets, and behaviors needed for success in the modern workplace. So the project-based blended learning is similar to self-directed blended learning and the outside-in based blended learning. Okay? So next type of blended learning is the self-directed blended learning. So in self-directed blended learning, students use a combination of online and face-to-face learning to guide their own personalized inquiry, achieve formal learning goals, connect with mentors physically and digitally, etc. As the learning is self-directed, the roles of online learning and physical teachers change, and there are no formal online courses to complete. So, self-directed learning is a process where individuals take primary change of planning, continuing and evaluating their learning experiences, and self-directed learning. The responsibility to learn shifts from an external source to the individual. In self-directed blended learning, one challenge for teacher is to be able to judge the success of the learning experiences without the authenticating it. For students, the challenge is to seek out models of products, processes, and potential that can provide the kind of spark that can sustain learning while being self-aware enough to know what's working and why, and to make adjustment accordingly. Some students need very some students need very little to soar, while others need support through very clear pathways that they can guide themselves through the autonomy and self-criticism. The self-directed blended learning is similar to inside-out blended learning and the project-based blended learning. Okay? So next is the inside-out blended learning. So the inside-out blended learning experiences are planned to finish or end up beyond the physical classroom, but still require and benefit from the unique advantages of both physical and digital spaces. In both the outside-in and inside-out models, the nature of online learning is less critical than the focus on platforms, spaces, people, and opportunity beyond the school walls. The online components could be self-directed inquiry and or formal e-learning courses and curriculum. So the inside-out blended learning is similar to outside-in blended learning and blended project-based learning modalities. Okay? So next, type of blended learning is the inside-in blended learning. In outside-in blended learning, experiences are planned to start in the non-academic physical and digital environments students use on a daily basis but finish inside a classroom. This could mean traditional letter grades and assessment forms, or less traditional teaching and learning that simply uses the classroom as a closed circuit publishing platforms, a safe space to share, be creative, collaborative, and give and receive feedback that grows students' work. So the outside in blended learning will design each of the three areas placed to its strengths and complements the other two, while the patterns in outside in, unlike remote blended learning, there is still a need for guidance, teaching, and support from face-to-face interactions on a daily basis. The outside in blended learning is similar to inside out blended learning. Okay? So next type of blended learning is the supplemental blended learning. So in this model, students complete either entirely online work to supplement their day-to-day face-to-face learning, or entirely face-to-face learning experiences to supplement the learning gained in online courses activities. The big idea here in supplementing critical learning objectives are meet entirely in one space, while the opposite space provides the students with specific supplementing experiences that the other did not or could not provide. Okay? So, in supplemental model of blended learning, leverages online courses components to help enrich the face-to-face classroom. In the supplemental model, there is typically no real reductions in classroom meeting time. Okay? So next type of blended learning is mastery-based blended learning. So the mastery-based blended learning, students rotate between online and face-to-face learning activities, assessment, project, etc. based on the completion of mastery-based learning objectives. The assessment design is crucial in any mastery-based learning experiences. The ability to use face-to-face and digital assessment tools is either powerful or complicated depending on the mindset of the learning designer. It is an instructional strategy. A master-based learning is an educational model that enables deeper learning in students by requiring mastery of skills and concepts before moving on the unique materials. Okay? So here are few blended learning tools to start building your toolbox. First, assign online coursework and have students complete and submit their assignment online, all based on your in-person instructions. Another, utilize learning management system that the students and teachers can easily access anytime. Engage students in online instructions, often through video instruction, with flexible face-to-face support in the classroom. And try station rotation with online learning station set up in the classroom. And project-based online learning can culminate in classroom discussions and enhance activities. Another, support computer lab instruction with in-person instruction and class digital learning response systems enable teachers to respond to students' work in real time. Then another is through online coursework, completion with video recordings, teachers can effectively evaluate students' performance remotely. Okay. Who benefits from blended learning? Blended learning benefits both students and teachers, of course, because all students live in a technology driven world. Blended learning can be helpful to every student's mobile access, means teachers can easily schedule assignments, score student submissions, and track students' progress through an online teacher management hub. Day or night, blended learning helps teachers stay organized and connect in more meaningful ways with their students. Blended learning is also flexible. Blended learning method can be integrated into almost any classroom. Okay? How do I started with blended learning? Think about what type of blended learning method you want to use. Blended learning requires complementary online and in-person learning. Then another, ensure that all your students have the technology they'll need. If students don't have access to computers or mobile devices at home, consider bringing technology into the classroom. Then another, make sure students know how to use the technology required. Set up sample lessons in the classroom so you can supervise. If you're using blended learning at home, provide guidance. Then another, test one method first to gauge its effectiveness, as your students have different learning styles. They also have varying levels of experience with technology. Experiment with your methods to see what resonates with your students. Okay, so this is my assessment. 10 items. So the direction, match column E with column B. Write the letter of the correct answer. Number 1, it is an educational methodology that blends online or digital components with face-to-face instructions. Number 2, students rotate between online and face-to-face learning, activities, assessment, project, etc. based on the completion of mastery-based learning objectives. Number 3, students complete either entirely online work to supplement their day-to-day face-to-face learning or entirely face-to-face learning experiences to support or to supplement the learning gained in online courses and activities. Number 4, experiences are planned to start in the non-academic, physical, and digital environments students use on a daily basis but finish inside a classroom. Number 5, a model in which the students uses both online learning either in the forms of courses of self-directed access and face-to-face instructions and collaboration to design, iterate, and publish project-based learning assignment, products, and related artifacts. Number 6, Experiences are planned to finish or end up beyond the physical classroom but still require and benefit from the unique advantages of both physical and digital spaces. Number 7, the students' focus is on completing online coursework while only meeting with the teacher intermittently as needed. Number 8, combinations of online and face-to-face learning to guide their own personalized inquiry, achieve formal learning goals, connect with mentors physically and digitally. Number 9, students are introduced to content at home and practice working through it at school, supported by a teacher and or peers. Last, number 10, model that allows students to rotate through stations on a fixed schedule where at least one of the stations is an online learning station. Okay? So that's all. Thank you and goodbye.